Today, I have 10 tips for you on keeping your craft room clean and organized. Something I hear over and over from people is that they have just a mess in their craft room, on their craft desk and all of that. Some people actually thrive creatively in an environment like that. I personally can't. If my space is a mess, I cannot function. It's just how I'm wired. Everybody's wired differently. But some people actually have a really strong desire to have a clean and tidy craft space. They just don't know how. You know, some of us are innately born with gifts. For example, I can't sing. It's bad, people. It's real bad. It's not an innate gift I have, but an innate gift I do have is cleaning and organizing. I've always been good at it. In fact, my mom likes to talk about how when I was little, I had little boxes that I was always putting stuff in and organizing. It's just part of who I am. So today I thought I would give you 10 tips on how to clean and organize your craft room and keep it that way. Let's get started. Hi friends, today's sponsor for this video is me. I'm sponsoring my own video. I'm actually doing a really cool mega Funfold class and I would love for you to purchase it. There are two ways to get this class. You can either purchase it outright and just get access to the full class, which will begin on February 8th, and it's a go at your own pace class. Or option two is to become a member of the Creative Vault. And it's $14.95 a month to be a member of the Creative Vault, and all members get this class included in their membership. But if you don't like subscriptions and you don't like memberships, we totally understand that because sometimes you just don't want to subscribe to something. So we've made it so that you can purchase this class totally separate. Now, if you're in on the early bird pricing, which ends January 16th, you're going to get this class 50% off. If it's after January 16th, this class will be $45. It is chock full of ideas and amazing fun folds. So let me give you a little sneak peek into what some of the things we're doing. First of all, I'm going with a whole new concept of creating you a resource library. I think it's important to have a recipe book just like you would have a cookbook so that you have go-to recipes for your fun folds. So I've created some graphics so that you can make a Funfold binder. Now, if you continue to take my classes through the year, you'll just be able to grow and expand on this. In this binder, we also created a graphic or PDF for you to print that has all the fun folds we're going to do in this class. So it's almost like an index. You notice I've named it Volume 1, which means that this is one of many classes we have planned this year. So in this class, you're going to learn all the basic fun folds, lots and lots of ideas, tons of fun, and we even have suggestions for how you're going to make really fun go-to recipes so that every single time you want to make this fun fold, it's just a super easy resource for you to go grab. This class, like I said, starts on February 8th, but it's good forever. So if you want to take this class at any point in time, go at your own pace. Once you purchase it, you have it for a lifetime. You'll always have it and you'll always have access to it through my Teachable site. So don't hesitate. Sign up today for this mega Funfold class. I even have guests that are coming in and doing extra fun ideas for us. There's multiple videos for each lesson because we've decided to go a whole different approach with how we're going to teach you these fun folds. So you don't want to miss out. I hope you join us. There are links below this video to sign up for the Mega Funfold class, or you can sign up for that Creative Vault membership and become a member. Here's a hint. The membership is cheaper than buying the class outright. So if you want to just become a member of the Creative Vault, you can sign up to do that. Okay, tip number one that I have for you is don't compare yourself to others. One of the things that we can really get caught up in is scrolling through Instagram, seeing beautiful curated craft spaces. The truth is, they probably are just showing you either one little snippet area of the craft space and not showing you everything else. In fact, I've heard what I would consider celebrity card makers make comments like, "Oh, my little space right behind me and on my desk looks great, but you should see what's going on around me." So we all have this tendency, I think, to hide the ugly. I don't know if you ever watched Monica or Friends, but in Friends, there's an episode where Chandler really wants to get into Monica's closet, and it's this closet just full of garbage where she has stuffed everything. And if you know anything about Friends, Monica liked everything perfect. Monica's kind of my spirit animal, if I'm being honest. But anyway, she liked the way everything looked aesthetically perfect. But the bottom line is none of us are perfect. So she had this whole closet full of junk just shoved in there. And that was her little secret space. We all have that secret space. Even if we are trying to pull off this beautiful curated space, there's somewhere hidden away that's a mess. We all have it. So my first suggestion to you, my first tip for you is don't compare. Don't compare yourself to anybody else because there's no reason to. Just know that what you see on camera and what you see in photos usually isn't the whole truth. So that's tip number one. Take away that pressure of comparing yourself to other people and you be you, because you're the only person that can do that. Tip number two is do something little every day. So if you have a really overwhelming space that needs to be fixed or done up or organized, crafted, whatever it needs, do it in small chunks. I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed if we look at a space and go, oh my gosh, this whole space needs to get cleaned. If you were to just pick one small area, maybe it's just one tote box, just pick that item and clean it or organize it. For example, my little photo area is a mess. I have drawers full of photo props because for my business, I have to photograph cards. So it's kind of just a mess. Everything's mishmash, junk put in there, unorganized. Some of it's stuff I never even use. So that's an area that I know that needs to be cleaned up. And yeah, it's a mess. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, this is my photography area. Right here is where I take all the pictures of my cards. Now, if you need a light box, I will link to this. And I have picked up different props and supplies along the way through the years. The problem is they end up in different drawers, kind of just all messed up. So as you can see here, I've got reflectors and random little props. Down here is stuff that frankly I never really even use. I've got drawers full of stuff like this is very springy, this is Christmassy. I've got some fall in here. This is empty. Here we've got more fall mixed with winter, mixed with bright summery stuff. So as you can see, this is just kind of a hodgepodge example of a really small, simple area that needs to be cleaned and organized in order to make it more accessible and more useful. So I am going to actually clean this out. And the first thing you need to do when you're cleaning up a small area is to pull everything out. You want everything out and displayed in a way that you can see it all so that you can make decisions about what needs to be gotten rid of and what needs to be kept. So I'm going to pull everything out of here and then I'm going to reorganize it, get rid of anything I don't want, and hopefully we'll be down to just, 4 or 5 drawers of stuff that needs to be kept. Now, before I go on, I really want to say, I know I'm going to get questions about this. I have multiples of these. These are from Replica Services, and I am an affiliate with them, and they are what I use to photograph on, and I also use to video on. These services are not cheap, but if you are a card maker and you do videos or photos, I highly, highly recommend them. They're extremely sturdy and they're wonderful. So I will link to them below. I've been using them now for years. Okay, now that I've gotten all of these cleaned out, I'm actually going to take some spray and clean the actual drawers. Now, something that I have decided, oh, I didn't even get everything. Look at that. So something I have decided is that these 3 bottom drawers right here are really hard for me to access because my light stand is right here. Okay, so one of the things you always want to do when you're organizing is identify stuff that is annoying. So for me, I find this very irritating that I can't really open that bottom drawer all the way without removing this light stand. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put stuff in that bottom drawer that is stuff I really don't need to get to very often, but that I still need. So I'm going to probably put my, these are storage, die storage, stamp storage, and my label maker, which I still haven't gotten out and done these, but it needs to be done. So I'm going to probably store that stuff down there because I can label that drawer and I will know that the only thing in there is stuff for stamp and die storage. And that's not stuff I really need to go through, if that makes sense. Now, these other two drawers, they open a little bit further. So this one opens almost all the way. As you can see, it's really dirty, needs to be cleaned out. These three drawers over here open nice and big. And then the two on the top open big. However, the two on the top are a little bit more shallow. So I'm gonna have to be kind of selective about how I reorganize this space. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned out and then I'm gonna start going through all of this stuff. Look at all this stuff. So these are all photo props and different things like that that need to be gone through, and I just need to take the time to sit and sift through them. I think what I'm going to do is organize into spring, summer, fall, and winter, so that I have 4 drawers of goodies that fit that criteria. That way, whatever season it is, I can just use that drawer at that time. So whatever fits in that drawer is what I will use. And maybe year to year, I'll change things out by getting rid of some things or getting some new things. But you get my point here. When this is all finished, I'll show it to you. Okay, I've sorted things into 4 well, more than 4 piles. I've got fall, spring, summer up there it is, and Christmas or winter. So as you can see, this really gives me an idea. I do not need any more fall stuff. I could probably use a little bit more winter / Christmas and maybe a little bit more spring. And I also cut down anything that was too big or weird and made it fit better. Then over here, I kind of have like items that are going to be more everyday use. So things like twines or ribbons. This little jar with which by the way, I've never used, but I think it's so cute, so maybe. The thing is, most of my photography for my cards is flat lay. However, every once in a while, I do need to photograph a Funfold card sitting up. So when I need to do that, I'm gonna need a few items for that purpose. And then back here are all of my fabrics that I like intertwine into my photography. And then here is my donate pile. This is just going back into my Christmas like foliage stuff in the shed. And then this is just garbage. So that's it. Super simple. I did a small area. I'm just now going to be able to put all of these things right back in the drawer. This took me like maybe 10 minutes and it made me feel so good. So tackle a small space. That's tip number 2. I'm going to label the drawers, get all this stuff put away, and that leads me to tip number 3. Tip number 3 I have for you is to clean your craft space off, the place that you actually craft. Clean it off before you leave your craft space. This will help you so much staying on top of, like, always feeling good about coming into your craft room, because every time you come in, it's going to be clean from the last time you crafted. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but let me get this cleaned up, and we're going to label these drawers and get them put away, and we'll talk about that. Thing that feels really, really good is cleaning a space. Anytime you wipe things down and give it a fresh new look, it just is motivating and makes you feel good. And honestly, with this tip of, you know, starting small and cleaning a small area and stuff like that, getting your craft space clean, like the desk area that you use clean, those tips are the things that are going to make you the most motivated to be in your space. Now, I know some of you probably only have like a desk in a room, or maybe just a table in your dining room type situation. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I would even venture to say that that would be even a bigger reason for you to keep your space tidy, because it's something you're going to look at and see often. With my room or my craft space, it is hidden away in a separate building. It's not even in my house. So it could be very easy for me to let this space become just overrun with clutter and mess and become kind of a catch-all. But what I find is when I do stuff like that, when I do let this become a catch-all and stuff just starts piling up, what I find happens is I am extremely unmotivated to be in the space. It's like I can't think clearly. It like clutters my brain. And honestly, there's been times where I've even purchased stuff that I already own. So cleaning your space on occasion really allows you to, look at it in a different way and go, oh my gosh, this is such a wonderful space to be in, no matter how big or small it is. And no matter if it's, you know, inside your house or not. I think that keeping things cleaned up and wiped down is just super important. And this craft top here, my desktop, was filthy. It was disgusting. When I wiped it down and looked at the towel, I was like, oh my gosh, this was horrible and needed to be done so bad. Here I'm showing you, it was really dirty. And that was after the second wipe through. So I just took the time to move every single thing off the top of this island, clean it off, and then I can put my stuff back. Now, does that mean every crevice of my craft space is clean? No, I didn't clean anything underneath here. I didn't wipe down the shelves. I didn't take stuff off the shelves. I didn't clean the floors. All I did was clean this tabletop because I know that that is what's going to make me feel good coming into this space. I'm also cleaning the mat that I use for my filming. These mats, like I said earlier, are from Replica Surfaces, and they are awesome. I love them for filming and for photography. I will link them, as I said earlier. So as you can tell too, and I address this later in the video, I have a totally different outfit on. My hair's not done. It's because this video took me a couple of days. I got interrupted and was kind of on a break from being in my office during this time, but I knew that I wanted to get out here, get it all cleaned up so that when I came back to work, everything would be feeling so good, fresh, clean, new, ready to go. So that is what tip number 3 is all about. Clean your craft space desk area. The space, if you do nothing else, keep this space where you actually craft clean and open so that there's plenty of room for you to create. And I try to make it a habit every single night to clean this space off. Okay, tip number 4 is to use some sort of box, tote, something to keep your unfinished projects in. So this might not apply to you, like maybe you just work on one thing at a time, but sometimes I have multiple projects going at once. I found these bins at Target. They stack up really nicely. I keep them over out of the way on my desk, so that way if I'm in mid-progress with a project, I can put it away and keep it off of my top of my desk. Okay, so number 5 and 6 are donate or sell. So I have 2 tips for you here. Number 5 is to have donate and sell boxes or bins in your craft room at all times. For me, I'm going to place items in donate that are things that are either too big or bulky to sell or ship. I don't want to have to mess with shipping these items, so I'm sticking them in the donate bin right off the bat because I know I'm not going to go to the trouble of selling them. I also know I'm not going to have a garage sale or anything like that anytime soon, which takes me to tip number 6. If you put items in your sell bin, mark the date on the bin, put it on a post-it note or whatever. If you haven't sold those items within 30 days or 60 days, move them to the donate bin and get them out. And then the last part of this tip is to actually move the stuff out of your space. Don't just leave it there for months and months and months. Get it going and get it out. Tip number 7 is to unpack, dispose of all the items that new product come in. So for this, I got a box from Altenew. I had a few items in it and I took those items out. I organized them into my craft space and then I threw away the box. There's nothing worse than just piling these things up. And I know we tend to want to keep boxes because we think, oh, we're going to use it or we could send something in it. Just throw it away. Do yourself a favor and toss it. Tip number 8 is to curate a happy space. I think it's really, oftentimes we have, all this stuff, but we don't take the time to like decorate or make it look really cute. And so I have just some stuff here in my office that I think is really cute. There's some garbage that has to be thrown away. I thought I would point out to you and stuff to go to the donate bin. But look at the space. It just is inviting. It's clean. It's organized. It makes you want to be in the space. And that is the key. Making you want to be in the space helps you be creative. Tip number 9 is something that's really hard for a lot of people, and I think it's because a lot of people who craft tend to be collectors. When you're a collector, you just don't want to get rid of stuff, and I'm just going to tell you to fight against that feeling. So here, what I'm doing is taking down a bunch of my holiday stamp stuff from Stampin' Up, and I have all of this brand new product that came in for Stampin' Up's new catalog, kind of smushed here, and I'm going to put these back up on my shelf in a nice organized fashion so that they look nice, and they're replacing the holiday stuff. I'm going to put the holiday stuff in my sell bin because I probably will get rid of most of it. Because here's the thing, especially with what I do. Now, this tip is a little bit variable, so we'll talk about that. For what I do, there is no way I could keep everything that comes into my craft space. With designing for other companies and working and doing the things that I do, I can't keep it all. And so what happens is the stuff that I really, really love is what gets to stay. And the stuff that I figure, you know what, next year there'll be something new that I'll want instead, and I can let it go. So it has to be a stamp set or item that I just feel like I wouldn't be able to live without for me to keep it. Otherwise, I don't have space for it. And I do know there's people who box stuff up and put it in the garage or a shed or storage or whatever. And if that works for you, that's totally fine. I'm not condemning anybody. But what I am saying is odds are you're never going to use it again. If you put it in a tote box and you pack it away somewhere, it's probably never going to get used again. So why not enjoy purchasing new products and letting go of some of the old stuff that you know you're probably never going to touch again? Because every season, every year, there's something new and fun we all want. And so you may as well make room in your craft space for that and not have the guilt or burden hanging over you of, well, I bought this item and now if I get rid of it, I've wasted it. And I know there's things I get rid of that I've never even opened. I've never even used. And that is just sometimes the nature of what this hobby is. So if it's something you really, really love, keep it. If it's not, let it go so that there's space for new stuff, because it's so fun buying the new things, right? That is tip number 9. Hey friend, so my very last tip for you is to find a crafty friend who maybe has just started crafting and needs some supplies. You could always give them some of your stuff. So this kind of goes along with the donate sells concept, but at the end of the day, you know, there's so many people out there that are looking for a fun new hobby, or maybe have already found this hobby, but it is kind of expensive getting started and getting going. So you could donate some of your stuff to that friend or person. I know that there is a group of ladies here local to me that get together once a month on Saturdays and they create together. And they meet at the senior center. So you can always look for opportunities like that, different craft meetups and stuff like that, where maybe somebody needs some new craft supplies. Okay, so there's my top 10 ways to clean and organize your craft room to have a fabulous crafting year. I hope you enjoyed this video. As you can see, I've changed because this video took me days to actually finish. And so, you know, in my case, I was on vacation while I was filming this video. Probably shouldn't have been doing that, but I took time off in between. All together, if I would have just got in here and done all the things I wanted to do, it would have only taken me about an hour. So the biggest number 1 tip I have for you out of all the tips I gave you, I think, is to keep your craft space cleaned up that you craft at. So like my crafting table is always clean before I go into my home at night, because for me, my craft space is outside of my home. So, and I'm very fortunate and very blessed for that. Thank you, husband. But for me, in order for my craft space to feel welcoming and for me to be motivated and want to create, it needs to be clean and organized. And so before I leave my space every single night or day, I clean off my craft table so it's nice and clean and ready and inviting for me to come back the next time. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope you join me for my Mega Funfold class. And if the time is past when I've advertised for this, don't worry, you can still buy it. It's available forever over on my Teachable site, and I will link to that below the video. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be with me. Until I see you again, bye friend.